I woke up at 12. Went to bed at 7 or 6. So what's going on? I clicked live.
What's the crack?
What is the crack? What is the crack? So you guys look like you're tired. It's the first time you've been out of bed in a while, or what?
It's
Like rabbits. You're in the rabbit universe.
yeah. That's
it, Todd.
That's a nice story, but yeah,
I'm just gonna share this.
yeah.
You're funny.
Yeah,
No,
our notifications aren't going out at all. Here, I'll tag you on it. Yeah. Yeah, there's only 6 people. Normally by this time there'd be 50 people. Yeah, we've been getting suppressed a lot. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'll behave myself. Melissa. All right, I'll tag you on here. Yeah, see, there's only 14 people. How's it going, everybody? All right, let me see. Deehan. Sneddon. Oh, you changed it to Rob.
Yeah, it's funny. We've been having a back and forth with my, I don't know the word you'd use, but I've just been off all social media since the beginning of the year. And like the website, Instagram, Facebook, all of it.
Yeah.
In fact, it was only when Melissa tagged me in something recently that I realised how resistant I've been to anything. Because none of it reflects who I am. At all. And the problem has been, how do I change some of it or all of it when it sounds so hippie, when who I am is changing every day, but my perspective is shifting that fast that it would have been easier to just close everything or walk away from it. And I'm still in a state where I know it all. I want to shift it. I want to change it all, but I don't have the desire to put the time into it at the moment to change it, because it's such a constant state of shift. But the one thing that I realised, and it was maybe a half hour ago, was I'm nobody calls me Robert Graham Sneddon. I needed that for me in the summer last year when I was reclaiming a piece of myself that had been missing. But
Now you're reclaiming bits every day.
Yeah, and almost everybody that knows me as Rob. So I've reshifted it to that.
Far out.
Yeah.
Simplicity.
And only staying where I'm at the moment, Todd. It's been. If it was down to me, I think I'd be off social media for the rest of my life. But that's purely because I really want to share who I am, and every time I try to do that on a platform that's a website or Facebook, you're getting a snapshot of who I am in that moment, and it so limits. It so limits who I. Like I say, I sound like a hippie, and I can't apologize for that.
Well, you just summed up a lot of people's experience of the last few months, I think.
I did something similar. I went rogue as well. The only time you'll see me on in the last 6 months has just been to maybe reshare something that I saw come up my timeline, or just to share a piece of this joy, which is a picture of us or something. But other than that, I have found it's been a huge, huge distraction. And I find it's very easy to get pulled into where everybody else is, and it takes you away from where you are and what you're here to experience, which is, for me, it's just been a practice of being here now, practice of just trying to be in the present moment. And that's what's probably kept both of us in the trenches as such, because
It's never stopped.
Yeah, it's relentless, but in the most beautiful way. Like, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it either.
I think that sums up a lot of what people experienced the last few months too.
Mm.
And y'all have been doing it together in the middle of a ascension courtship, and and kids in the house and moves and I mean that's crazy. I mean, because it's a full-time job, isn't it? Just yourself as a full-time
We've had this
job.
conversation again so many times recently, Todd, where it's, you know, I was going to say my entire focus, but almost all of my focus has been on my healing. But even calling it my healing now is just, it's not about that.
I like to call it growth.
Yeah.
Your growth. And like he moved through something huge there this afternoon and then went and put on the dinner.
Yeah. The kids come home and
that's how it works.
And it's being real, you know, and it's, do you have time to take, you know, a day, a week, a month to integrate the massive change that you've just experienced? Not anymore.
No.
The invitation is you've had this massive experience. It reveals something to you that was either hidden or lost. You reclaim it. The integration is almost instantaneous, and it allows for the next thing to come up. And the next thing could be mine, or it could be in my opening. It invites Melissa to then experience hers, or more often than not, vice versa. And we each mirror. We each mirror the safety that we are, I think, is the way I would try and describe it.
We mirror the safety, we mirror the madness, we mirror the chaos, we mirror the joy, we mirror the elation, the grief. There's no escaping this,
and it's
because
constant. It's constant.
Yeah,
it's not a negative, oh, we're in trauma and each new trauma reveals yet more trauma, and it's not that at all. It's that each experience flows into the next, which invites, like, if I reclaim a piece of me now that invites me to feel either more insecure or more secure than I've ever known, immediately on its heels there'll be another aspect or another part of myself that's inviting me to go, oh, well, now that I've experienced that, this was holding that up. And then, so I feel like I'm already talking too much, and it's...
No, this is great.
It's hard to find words for it. It's such a...
I've gone from truly believing that I was one of the best communicators out of my peers to recognizing that I couldn't even communicate with myself. And that was a shocking discovery for someone that's both a Gemini and likes to talk. I'm in awe at it. You know, I've talked about this before when we've talked, Todd, where, you know, my dad taught me at a young age to interrogate the thought, the belief it triggers, and the emotion that comes as a direct result of the belief. And I truly, somewhat arrogantly, thought I was an expert at it. And the more present I'm being with myself every day, the more I'm recognizing I've been kidding myself on as much as I have. What I've seen, I've missed. It's been incredible, and it continues to be. And sharing it's been tricky because, you know, we were talking about this the other day. It's that, you know, how do I see myself and how do I take a picture of that in a moment to try and put it on Facebook or to try and put it on my website? And, you know, Melissa described it beautifully when we met, that we mirror each other. And I'm realizing now that that's actually my experience externally as well as internally. You know, I might meet you and you might think I'm awesome. I might meet somebody else and be an absolute asshole to that person. And it's not that it's just I'm responding to them or they're responding to me, and we're mirroring something to each other in that moment. And this wisdom's old. There's not, again, it's another constant trigger. There's not, I don't believe I'm saying anything new at all. Which makes it then difficult to say, I am this, when what I'm saying is something that's been said by thousands of people for thousands of years. But the pace, every time I've talked to you, Todd, we've talked about pace, and it's kind of a pointless subject now because the pace is just obnoxious.
Yeah, the pace is just obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the universe has a way of handing you your ass on a platter. And the thing is, you're right. You're in one, and before that one even ends, there's another one.
Yeah.
There's not even a waiting period.
No, I mean, if I go back to my 20s or my 30s, you know, if you're fighting hard to find a piece of you or a piece of trauma that was locked away, that was holding you from being present in a moment, you could spend months or years looking for that piece. You'd find it, and then you'd have this long integration period where you would get used to how you felt having healed or moved through something. But, you know, a year ago, it felt like we were doing that in a day or two. And now it feels like it's happening in a half hour or an hour or two.
And you're doing all this work. I was talking to Morgan about it, you and another couple, like going through all of this now. I was telling her, man, I'm so glad our higher selves are smart. We met like 7 years ago. We've been through all this stuff. But to go through all this stuff fast track, that's wild. And have kids in the house and have just moved. And I mean, that's a lot of changes. That's rapid.
Again, that's what I guess.
The funniest thing is that, like, it really does feel like in even the last 6 months that we've gone through the equivalent of what I'm saying married couple. I know we got married, but that an average couple, like you see it on TV or in your own, you know, company of your friends that have gone through in 20 years, we're belting through the exact same things. But there's no room for blaming the other or putting, you know, you have to take accountability and responsibility for yourself.
You make me feel.
Yeah.
Whenever that is said here, it's instantly the other just gets to stand with a really quite smug, loving look
you make
on their
me
face.
feel.
You make me feel. And it's
but
like,
I
really,
feel.
I believe. I think.
But like when you hear I feel, that's an attention getter. Versus
my favorite is it's because you.
I try that every so often.
It's because you said. It's because you did. And then I'll instantly burst out laughing.
So that's what happens when one of y'all does that. The other one just doesn't even go there.
There's the chances of us biting. I mean, we have moments where one or the other wants to bite. As in, there's a story. And the invitation.
So you're not addicted to makeup sex.
That would require us to fall out, and we don't get to play there.
You're so funny.
I didn't think we do. Please crack on if I'm mistaken.
No.
Crack on.
What I was gonna say was, like, we're not immune to the same triggers that everybody else is. I have a past. Rob has a past. I have a history. I come with my baggage. He comes with his. But I'm committed to not living there.
Yeah.
I'm committed to not staying there. I'm committed to not letting that define who I am. And it just so happens that he is the same at the same time.
Right.
So even if I'm triggered by something that he says or does, I can feel how it's making me feel in my whole being. And if it feels like shit, I'm not willing to stay there. Not because of or for him, but because and for myself.
Right.
And I think this is one of the big misconceptions around this whole, the phrase union, because it gets thrown around on social media all the time as you see twin flame, soulmates, divine union. We're no different to anybody else in my eyes in that everybody can have, for example, what Rob and myself are experiencing at the moment, but from my perspective, you have to be willing to be that committed to yourself before anything else and before anybody else. The other person has to be the same. So I get quite triggered when I see on social media, I get triggered when I see people like trying to, you know, claim that you can have this experience without meeting yourself first, and I don't believe that you can. This is just my perspective. I believe that you have to meet yourself, and in meeting yourself, then you create the space to experience the other as you. So again, that's either going to be a shitstorm or some rainbows, and some days it's a nice mixture of both. But I just get triggered when I see people trying to when I see people lonely or wanting more or wanting something outside themselves. When I see because I've been this, I have been the one feeling like something vast is missing from my life, and then it be manipulated as something that I can buy, a course like I can attend, a book I can read, and by reading this book I'll have, you know, I'll have what what everybody tells me I can have, but it's not been my experience. My experience has been I've worked my butt off to clear any programs within me that keep me bound to any bullshit, and Rob's done the same.
And I'd follow up with that. We're doing the same because it's a constant invitation, isn't it?
I think meeting yourself is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
And yeah,
and then remembering to be present, to be here now, and remembering your way back from vulnerability. It's so scary to completely let your guard down, because we all have a history, but I know that it's worth it. It's worth every second of it. So, yeah. I can hear you, but I can't. You're frozen, I think. Yeah, it is a bit deep. We can hear you, but you're frozen a bit. Not really. You sound like you're talking Irish there. You're up, Rob.
Yeah.
Give us a song.
I don't do singing. That's not my thing. But
I don't even know if what I said makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. But it's the whole you've done the work. You're a couple. You've made it. You can put your feet up, take a breath, and live
happily
ever after in a loving, committed, beautiful, caring sexual relationship. And that sounds amazing. And if there is a book or an activation, I would buy that. But it's not been my experience, and I'll speak for you. It's not been your experience. It's been do the work, meet the person, continue to do the work. And actually, the work is the wrong word, but it's commit to being integrous to yourself in every moment, and witness the unfolding that takes place when you're triggered. And instead of getting lost to the anger, the resentment, the hurt, the grief, you actually welcome it because the other person doesn't bite into your story. You know, you talk about, I didn't cut you, but you're bleeding on me. And that, again, has been a great way to describe what trauma looks like in a codependent relationship, you know, where somebody's previous experience is a cut and the emotional trauma bleeds on the other person. And the invitation is to, if I do something that causes me to bleed on Melissa emotionally, for her to not buy into that story and react to the story, but absolutely commit to just standing in her own integrity and sovereignty, I got nowhere to go there. I'm either stood in a pile of my own shit, or I'm saying, I'm looking at love reflected back at me. I'm very uncomfortable. What do I need to accept or reject in this moment to return to the love that I am? And I think that is what we're doing multiple times every day.
Wow. That's deep, man. That's some serious purpose-driven life frequency.
I've met someone that is absolutely as committed, if not more committed, to their own healing as I am. And we have a commitment to ourselves that is, I'm determined that all of the lies, all of the noise, all of the trauma, everything that is separate to me, or that I hold myself separate from, is going to be integrated. And I've found someone who's as committed to that truth for herself as I am. So it invites us to not get lost in story. It invites us to actually witness the other as the perfect mirror. So I think that's...
So how does so that you're pulling together when you do that? I mean, it's a constant, you know, like a weaving, like you're constantly mirroring, like you said. Is there another way to get there? I mean, do you guys ever like just, you know, close your door and act like little kids, or, you know, like that? Is there a different feel to that part of it as opposed to the past?
My favorite thing about this man, without exception, and what he's after.
Your favorite what?
My favorite. Like about 3:33, Todd. There you go. Get it out of the way. Okay. I know, but messing aside, genuinely, my favorite thing about this man is he's introduced me to a way of seeing myself that I couldn't possibly have done without him. And he talks all the time about aspects. So we're talking about our child self, our teenage self, and so forth. And I've explored this very deeply doing zero pointing. But what he actually allows me to do on a daily basis is be me. It could be my 3-year-old self acting out or experiencing something, or being in a place where I'm realizing as the adult version that a need wasn't met as a child and it's been met in this now moment because I'm safe to express it with him. It can be my teenager, you know, losing my patience or something. It's safe to be all of me, no matter what aspect shows up. And we both understand then through this experience, and this is daily, that we're constantly in a state of flux. We're constantly in a state of change. I'm not going to sign up for a lifetime with this man on Monday and expect him to be the same man in 10 years' time, because it's not how this works. It's not how any aspect of this works. We are constantly changing as human beings. That's what we came here for. We came here to grow. We came here to expand, to elevate, to integrate. And what I love is that I can be all of me with and around him. And by doing that, it gives him permission to be the same, because yes, he's a grown-ass man, but he's not always in that standing in that energy. He can stand, like today he had quite a vulnerable day, like I said, and stand in whatever energy is presented there, and then allow me to hold a container with him as he moves through his stuff. And again, like I said, not as the man, but as the child, not as the child, as the teenager. And so what it does is this relationship allows us to experience safety we never had, through the lens of vulnerability we never knew, with love that isn't pretty much most of the time conditional, if ever. But we're human, and so we're learning and growing all the time. We don't punish each other via our wounds.
That's the big one.
We want to know what they are. Like I said, I might know that Rob hasn't cut me, but if I'm bleeding, emotionally speaking, and hurting, I have the space to feel it all the way through, from whatever lens or whatever energy I stand in that moment. And I didn't know that before. I didn't have that before. So that's been definitely one of my greatest gifts that I got. You're like a magician there, Todd.
I'm like a ghost. Keep going.
I don't know really else, what I can add. It's just that you asked, the question you asked was there another way? And the only way for me is to know myself. And like I said, if I'm in an experience that doesn't feel good and it hurts, I'm hurting because of my history, or I'm hurting because I'm not here now in this now moment, and I will do whatever it takes to not stay there for me. So it's a whole other level of self-love that I've never known, but I know that I wanted to experience what it felt like to be on the receiving end of the love that I am. And here we are.
Yeah.
That's all I know. So the love that I am isn't always graceful and peaceful and gentle. The love that I am sometimes is wrath and fury and
or grief or loss, and it's but it's in every moment. It's perfect because it's a reflection of you, and you invite me to hold that, and I gladly do, and then vice versa. And it's like Melissa's talking about the aspects, and when I first tried to explore this in my own head, it was like, it sounds schizophrenic, or you look at the psychology way of doing it, where you're talking about, the inner child or the inner teen or whatever. But I am in this moment, all of me. But in the next moment, I am might be a 5-year-old. It's likely to be a 5-year-old that's not feeling safe. And then there may well be a teenage aspect there that's keeping the 5-year-old safe by being an asshole. And in one, not even just a conversation, but in a couple of sentences, I might switch between 2, 3, 4, 5 aspects, each one having an emotional belief or an emotional response to a pattern program that one is playing out to an original thought I had that may well be as simple as, I don't feel safe in this moment. And then watch that transition through different aspects. But we're both able to witness in almost real time with each other the shifts in these aspects, because you can witness as a person's mental and emotional state changes, the aspect that's talking to you shifts. So it's never just me talking to Melissa, it's me talking to all of Melissa or an aspect of Melissa, and they switch.
Multi-dimensional Melissa.
Yeah.
It really gave me a good explanation even of that concept, because we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
We really are.
So we've been really exploring that together, and
Well,
just it's amazing to just stand in this space together.
mm.
Now, it is beautiful. It is, and it's remembering. I think above all, at the core, you know, I've known for years that I am love, but have I stood as love in every moment? Fuck no. I've not been able to. I want to. But the invitation constantly is to find the places I don't or didn't feel safe and reclaim the love that I am from that place. And that's the, you know, when we talk about core wounding, you know, and I've been talking about core wounding for the last couple of years, so I'm bored talking about core wounding now because apparently the core has a core, has a core, has a core.
I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about some kind of breathing exercise.
Yeah.
Core wounding. Core wounding.
Yeah. No, wounding.
Wounding. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He's a foreigner.
But it's learning. It's absolutely learning.
Yeah.
Every day. Actually, where do I not feel safe? How am I holding myself apart from me, from Melissa, from everything that is? And it invariably comes back to, in some way, I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And therefore, I'm not able to hold myself.
I keep hearing, and what I keep seeing too is with what you're saying is it's one thing to recognize shadow in someone else, and obviously in yourself, but to be able to be in a space where you can actually, you know, express your shadow, be it conscious or unconscious or whatever, and know that you're not going to be thrown out with the trash, right? You know what I mean? Like you're actually, what you're saying is you're practicing and embodying unconditional love. And when the shadow in the other comes up, you can laugh about it. You can stand in your own power in your own way. You can let it be what it is. That's what you're saying. And you're not, you know, like holding it against the other person. You're just saying, I see you. And I still love you.
Yeah.
You know?
And nor are we using the shadow as a weapon. You know, I can definitely point to previous experiences in my life where, you know, there was almost like a pride in talking about the shadow stuff. It's like, look how strong I am in my wounding, or the invitation to. I don't even know how to describe what I'm trying to say.
I'll say,
please,
not
please.
to finish your sentence.
No, please finish it.
But do you know what the biggest fuckery for me is?
What is that?
Well, right, I'm over here in my lane doing my own inner work, my growth, and I clear as much as I can on a daily basis from what prevents me from just experiencing peace. We'll keep it nice and simple. A peaceful existence. Rob's over there doing the same. And then we come together and he's talking about going down like this rabbit hole. I mean, I would definitely give Alice a run for her money now at this stage. Because it's so easy to bask in and stay in trauma.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
It's a whole other game. When somebody shows you unconditional love, when you're in a state, as you just said, where someone punished you or judged the shit out of you, where they projected their own stuff at you when you're in that place, and stand in that love. For me, that's been like one of the greatest challenges. I'm looking at this man, I could have tears streaming down my face, and I'm going, why do you love me? Why are you still here? Why, you know, that's for me actually harder because I haven't lived there. I haven't experienced my life like that. I have been bonding with people through my trauma. Whereas this for me, I dubbed it a couple of weeks ago, trauma is like trauma awareness. So in my awareness of what I have lived through, in his awareness and mindfulness of what I've experienced as we share these experiences, it's knowledge and wisdom to love me better, deeper, and vice versa. Everybody has a history. And for me, I'm just right now trying to spend as much time in the present moment as I can. And when I get pulled out of it, I have a constant reminder that I have a choice in how I'm feeling. Because this man is, for me, my greatest invitation to feel everything, good, bad, and indifferent. So it's a choice to return to peace and to return to love. And I'm not talking about in a big, all fuzzy romantic way of return to love. Oh, I'm so in love. No, not like that. But my own self-love. To not give myself shit, for example, about my appearance, about anything about
yourself.
Pardon?
What you're thinking about yourself.
Yeah. So that's been, like I said, that's been the greatest excuse the language, mindfuck, because I didn't see that coming. And so now we're going, like as Rob said, it's like we experience trust with each other. We experience compassion with each other. We experience love, but it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And one of the ways I described it, so if you take like a, I don't know what like a hexagon shape, right? So if you've got like an issue like safety, right? The way I've explained this is it's like I can experience safety from all of the different sides of a hexagon, the hexagon representing the word safety or the program of safety, and experience it so many ways until it's like it shatters and then it drops you down again and you go into a deeper level of understanding what safety looks like, or a deeper level of trust, or a deeper level of commitment. And that's when we're talking about, like at the beginning of this conversation, it's been relentless. That's what we're talking about. Relentlessly being shown another way, a deeper way, that I didn't really know existed before him. I thought I did, but no. No.
I thought I saw pussycat.
Yeah. I didn't see shit.
But okay, like this is just an observation too, because and some people might not agree with this, but I think you're kind of living proof. So another thing that I'm getting is, it's true you've got to do it in yourself first, right? But there's something to be said when you're standing across from somebody who accepts your shadow and doesn't even go there, and it becomes part of your field with them, which is unconditional love. So like there's something to be said when she's standing on the other side of me and you just feel unconditional love, no matter what. Like that doesn't seem to be following the template of it has to start inside first. There's something that you actually pick up. This is just my opinion. And then listening to you, I can see it as well. Like with what you're saying, because you're talking about a worthiness, loop playing in your head, right? Like with why are you still here? But you're seeing something that's in yourself, and I can relate to that. So I don't know how that works, how the math works. So when did you know that who you were to each other? Like at what point did you know who you were to each other? If you can know that. I know that things ebb and flow and lots of things can happen, but like looking back right now in this moment, when did you know who you were to each other?
I don't even know how I'd begin to answer that.
I do. Day one.
Yeah.
He was just weird like me. He thought like me. He acted like me. He's as quirky as me. He's as deep as me. He talks as much as me.
Well, we spoke. The first day we spoke, it was apparent through the course of that conversation that I'd met someone that...
He was just where I was. He just was where I was on this journey.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to describe it. I didn't see him coming because I was busy working on myself.
I was literally walking down a path with a Starbucks in one hand and my phone in the other, and here comes this message, and it didn't really stop. It didn't, Todd, and up in change country and not looked back.
Well, you know what it's like. How can you talk to somebody what seems like 5 minutes and like 3 hours have passed?
Yeah.
That's it.
So yeah, it's been a while, to be fair. So yeah, I'm downplaying it, and I don't mean to be. But again, I think it's the whole when you look in somebody's eyes, but when you feel it's that peace, and what's represented there is.
Well, you're doing something right. You're doing something right because she's glowing. So either she's
but she's standing in her light, Todd, and I get to stand in mine.
Yeah.
And we're reflecting it back at each other.
Yeah, but you know how a woman kind of has that sheen to her when she's with the right man and things are going well. And
I'll gladly take that compliment all day long.
I am unapologetically.
So how has your intimacy been different than previous?
Say that again. Say that another way.
How has the intimacy been, compared to previous relationships, and has it changed since you've been together? Is that too much?
No, it's not too much. I wouldn't know where to start.
I didn't know what intimacy looked like before this man. And people are like, people can base a relationship heavily around sex, for example, or anything. But intimacy is like staying awake way longer than two people are able to, because they just can't sleep because they're so deep in conversation, or it's an unexpected foot rub when you've been on your feet all day, or
that's kind of sexy.
Somebody, just a presence, like somebody being really present with you.
Yeah,
this is what we are rewriting what intimacy looks like for both of us. I've never had that I've had snippets of the things I wanted to experience in a relationship with other people, but not like this. And the beautiful thing is here, we're getting to rewrite our own stories by having our own needs met first and foremost by ourselves, not putting the expectation in the other person's hands of our happiness or anything else, because they will drop it, guaranteed. It's taking ownership of what my needs are, and then sharing that, isn't it? I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does.
It deepens. To answer your question, sorry for interrupting you. To answer your question, it deepens. Has it changed? Absolutely, 110%. This is not the same man who showed up in my world last year. This is a completely different man. It's not the same man who I woke up beside this morning. That's what intimacy is to me.
It's a constant shift, and it's like I was able to turn around to Melissa, excuse me, a few hours an hour or two before we came on tonight, and I was like that. I can't find ground under my feet. I knew I was overwhelmed, massively overwhelmed. And I was able to I'm rediscovering what it is, both A, to be overwhelmed, and B, when I feel overwhelmed, to just stand in it or to sit in it. And Melissa will often not speak in that place, but she will hold a very loving energy.
Sometimes it pisses you off. Right?
Sometimes it drives me insane because I want her to come and rescue me. I'm hurting. I can't find ground under my feet, and I want to be saved. I want to be rescued. And if she can
say something,
if she can come in that moment, saying anything is going to take me out of my overwhelm and give me a focus or a distraction out with myself.
Right, exactly.
And when I was speaking to her earlier on, and I was really aware of my overwhelm. And I was able to say, I can't find the ground under my feet, which invites me to spin out words. And I was like, I'm going to go and have a nap. Or I'm going to go and lie down just in quiet for 20 minutes. And Melissa's like, or you could just speak. And you could give voice to all of the overwhelm. And I don't know if you've ever witnessed your own head and the things you say to yourself in a place of overwhelm. But it generally feels like it's words on top of words on top of words, for me anyway, or sentences on top of sentences with beliefs compounding on top of each other. And if you try and pick one, it just feels like your head is going to spin.
Loops.
Perfectly so.
Mm.
And yet, by being able to acknowledge that I couldn't find ground under my feet, and by Melissa saying, well, you can do that, no judgment. No, you're a dick, or it's too much for you, go lie down.
Well, I was listening to him. I was witnessing him, and I was just I was letting him feel his way through.
Yeah.
And we were sitting here exactly as we are, and he says, like, I really could do with you saying something like right now. And I went, I can't help you where you are.
Yeah.
And if you want to go and rest, cool. But if you want to speak to how you're feeling,
Yeah.
why not go there? And it can be something as simple as that.
And I did. I started speaking, and it looked in my head like what I was doing was talking lots of random sentences about lots of random thoughts and feels and beliefs. But as we started, and it's again another thing that Melissa and I do, we slow everything down. We'll pull one thought that took a moment, like a second to think, and we'll stretch it out for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to absolutely understand everything about that moment that took us from where we were to this space.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to speak, and after I stopped judging it, and after I stopped trying to understand it fully, and actually just started speaking words and speaking sentences, I then started to remember who I am, what I felt was missing, what had been triggered in that space of overwhelm, to return to a place where I was able to remember, oh, I wasn't safe. And actually at the moment, you're inviting me to remember what safety in this moment looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified, not that you're going to drop me, which is the easy fear to attach to, but that I'm not going to have the courage to stand here and I'll forget again.
Well, moments like that, I don't think we're used to it. You know, we haven't had that. We haven't had that playground. There hasn't been one like that.
No, and it's safe. It's safe for me to recognize that overwhelm, which is new. Then it's safe for me to speak that I'm in such a state of overwhelm, or I'm heading towards one that I can't find ground beneath my feet. There's no judgment coming at me.
So basically, you're laying there in your rabbit hole. You're this, and this is when you want her to rub your feet, but she won't rub your feet. I'm speaking.
Actually, you know, it's funny, Todd. In that place, that would actually be worse.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That would.
But I mean,
as in my head. For example, let's say we had that exact situation today happened as it did, and then Melissa came to me and literally started rubbing my feet. Yeah. The overwhelm that would take me into would be more intense than the one that I was in. But it would be a distracted overwhelm where I'm getting to focus.
Because when you're so in your head, people are so hardwired and used to giving themselves shit. You're like, why am I being such a moany bastard? I'm being pure needy right now. He's going to think I'm an asshole. You know, all of this kind of rubbish that goes through our heads. We'll call it straight out. It's just what we do. Yeah. We'll call it straight away. I'll say, Rob, the story I'm telling myself right now is I'm talking too much. Or the story I'm telling myself is I'm speaking too much. Or another side of this is, I mean, I've never been in a relationship where I can stand in front of another person and say, right now, I really fucking resent the shit out of you. Because this is the biggest, again, piece of fuckery in like conscious aware relationships. I can't turn around and blame him, right? Yeah, but I'm giving myself the permission to say it. I really resent you right now. It's twofold. It's brilliant. It gives the other person on the receiving end of this experience the opportunity to just stand solid in their own energy, not get pulled into any drama, not get pulled out of their own heart, not to just dance with the other person, just stand still. So they get to practice being here now. Sometimes it depends on where those people are at. It can be very entertaining. But like I know if he says like, and it was the experience earlier on. I feel like I'm very resentful right now. I know that that's not mine, and he knows that it's not mine. But the safety to speak what you're feeling means that it doesn't compound. It doesn't stay there. You don't end up harboring resentment and all of this shit that we have wasted so much time. Like, what's the point in feeling something? Like I could have say I have a disagreement with him and I go on, I sleep in a different room because I've got the hump and there's so much unspoken like within me. I'm holding it inside me. It's like I don't know, forgive me who said it or what the quote is, but holding on to anchor is like holding on to a piece of hot coal and thinking that you're not going to get burnt. What's the point in this shit? What's the point? That's just the way I look at it. What is the point? We're afraid to have the difficult conversations because history told us you're going to be rejected, you're going to be abandoned, you're going to be ridiculed, you're going to be judged, you're going to be punished for feeling how you feel. And then we went and spent so much time trying to anesthetize how we were feeling, just so we wouldn't feel too much. So for me, I'm like, if I'm going to be here to experience this, I'm just not willing to let anything hijack my peace. Now that I've got glimpses of what it really looks like, not even this beautiful man. So he can either communicate with me or piss off. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but what's the point otherwise? We're here to grow. And if he's mirroring something back to me that I'm unwilling to look at within myself, then we have got a big problem. And I think that's one of the big things in everyday relationships people have is, you know, they think that you get into a conscious relationship with a conscious man or a woman and everything changes. I'll tell you one thing from my experience, it intensifies tenfold. And the pace will not slow down for you because you grow and you grow and you grow and it deepen and intensify, but that does not mean that it's chaos. It can be euphoric, and it has been euphoric. And we laugh 1,000 times a day. We've cried. We probably snap at each other and then laugh at it into each other's faces.
Rub each other's feet.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think it's a question of we need to communicate. Like this is as old as the 3D. We need to communicate, Mars and Venus. I think it's a question of how do we communicate? And like every single other facet in this transition we call ascension, we can't do it the old way. No. And I think with so much being brought out about programming, and then the programming of a male, a typical male, the programming of a typical female, you know, and so many of these relationships that like yours, I think are, you know, it's in the late 30s, it's in the 40s, it's in the 50s. So there's a lot of experience there. There's also a lot of old style communication. So I think that's one of the things that's happening. You guys seem to be attacking it in a way that's never been really put out there. I mean, it's like you guys are like 24/7, right? I mean, and you probably haven't even had a choice in that matter either, I bet, because of the way everything's moved so fast. You know, then I keep telling Morgan, you got 3 teenagers in the house. I had 2 teenagers when I first woke up, and it was quite the experience for 3 years. I mean, that was just like, you know, a couple of tornadoes or hurricanes running through the house.
I would have wholeheartedly agreed that having 3 teenagers under the same roof as us while we move through this would be horrendous. But it has been the most phenomenal gift, and I'll tell you why. We're not the only mirrors to each other, each other in the house.
That's far out.
And we have 2 children. I have 2 children, Sean and Erin, and they are both diagnosed with autism. And through my journey with them, Rob's also got a child who's got autism as well. It has allowed us another beautiful, unofficial mirror of ourselves back. So the traits and characteristics, the quirky bits and pieces that people would have crucified us for in our past relationships have become things that we literally celebrate. It means that we can become so palpably aware of ourselves via these mini obnoxious narcissistic mad things that refuse point blank to
with
eat
high
what you give
with
them.
high frequencies, with
They
very high
won't
frequencies.
clean it. They're typical teenagers.
Just
It's beautiful.
teenagers.
And so we have actually been able to learn so much about ourselves via them, just simply being them.
Yeah.
So yes, it absolutely adds to the potency
It does.
of the growth, or the speed of the growth in the house. But I'm watching these guys transform as well because of the awareness they gift us. It's like
we get to gift it back.
It's reciprocated, isn't it?
Massively, and it's there's so many experiences where I speak for myself, where there are moments where I want to be so reactive, and I'm like, well, if you don't appreciate that, rah. And as I find myself wanting to have that reaction, I then go, actually, that's the path of least resistance, which could look like laziness, but actually, where was I? How was I at that age? And then I go, let's take age out of it. That reaction that I've just witnessed, how often have I felt that way in my life?
Yeah, we replicate what we have learned ourselves. And the second my mother is coming out of my mouth, for example, and I love you, Mary Deehan, but I'll pause and I'll go, let's try this another way. Now, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I face plant, and sometimes I go, yeah, this is why my mother knew better than I did. But other times it's showing us another way. It really is, and especially with kids who are on the spectrum, because they say what they mean and they mean what they say. And if you're nice and sensitive around that shit, then you are going to go under in a heartbeat. So we've got two of them for sure. Again, beautiful invitations to feel. Everybody is, all of the relationships we have in our lives right now, I really believe if you look around your own personal relationships, your family relationships, your friends, every single person is an invitation to feel. And if you like what you feel, keep going, keep being around that person. And if you don't, take a good look at yourself, because your keys to your own freedom and the way back to your own peace are exactly right in front of your face.
But you look at the amount of people that and I mean, our bubble has been small since before we met, but it's got smaller since we met. And it's not been the traditional, two people madly in love. There is nothing outside of those two people while they're in this space. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome. And we have an incredible bubble that we live in. But the experience that I'm witnessing more and more and more is that so many people have reduced, either through isolation or just the experiences that the world have been bringing. People's groups have got physically smaller. Their interactions and the amount of times I'm seeing or hearing someone say, I don't want to people today. And it's Ram Dass used to talk about it in one of his lectures, where he's like, I don't want to be spiritual in the city. I find it hard to be spiritual when I'm in this group of people or when I'm working. And, and I think that's kind of similar to where a lot of us are finding ourselves at the moment, where it's like, I'm really spiritual, but people can be quite annoying. And I don't have the bandwidth to hold space with people in that way. But actually what you're saying is, there's only so much of different aspects of myself I can see in a day and actually have the capacity to hold, never mind interact with. And then not giving yourself a hard time for that experience and not saying, oh, well, I can't people. I'm going to say I'm overwhelmed, or I'm autistic, or I'm just having a long, tired day, or maybe I don't like being sociable. And none of these things are true. But actually, when you really accept that even the person that you walk into in the coffee shop or on the way out is literally mirroring something of you back to you, it can become very intense to interact with a lot of people in a day. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that at the moment and not even consciously being aware of it. Which then invites us to get lost in story.
Yeah.
Which can be, this group of people are doing this, or this thing is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of fluctuations obviously since on or about 2012, masculine, feminine, there's been a lot of ebb and flow, and there's been a lot has pointed to, like October through even like January, where there's been a real shift in a higher equilibrium, or at least the potential of one. And again, going back to this communication thing, like listening to y'all, the importance of being able to speak, and then allowing that. But I think also one of the things I'm seeing happening is when you're speaking, being aware of how you're saying things. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, or ask, if you guys can relate, or if you've seen any of this, the mirror is, like say in just a typical masculine, feminine, type of template, that you start to understand that where the other one's coming from, you had no fucking idea. Like I'm talking about a woman understanding the path of a man, or the man understanding the path of the woman. Like that affects everything. If the woman says something, I'm hearing something else because of where I came from. If I say something and don't understand why she doesn't understand it, it's because she's not coming from where I'm coming from. So I think there's a part of this merging is you start to actually stand in their shoes. And that's a pretty cool thing. That to me comes with like that presence, like when they're staring back at you in unconditional love and you're out of sorts, or vice versa, like there's something about, giving credence to the unknown path of the other as you're learning what more and more of what that is, and what that is in terms of how they're made up. So have you had more sensitivity or more empathy, or been able to see through the other's eyes through this time you've been together?
Yeah, I would say for sure. Rob's provided multiple, I can't even have lost track of times where I have allowed myself to just fall to pieces. And he's just simply been a container of himself. No judgment, no nothing. And I'm allowed to pick myself back up and stand vertical again within that container. The way it's just been for us is, say I have an experience today, and he gets to be what I would call my safety in that moment. And then the roles reverse.
Right.
But because I know what he has done for me or provided for me in that energy, I can be it the following day.
Right.
Unquestionably. And he knows then that it's safe, for example, for him to fall apart.
Right.
Because he knows, because he did it 24 hours beforehand for me. Yeah. And we have this all of the time. And it kind of got to a point where, I could have been like going through something massive clearing, massive realizations, massive making peace or acceptance of where I am, allowing grief of my past to just wash through me. And then he's just solid. He's just solid. And he's not doing anything. But he's observing, or he might say something. I don't know. It depends. But it got to a point where, I'll have eyes like two little piss holes in the snow. I'm crying that much, and then I'm laughing because I'm like, it's not funny. And you know what's coming, because if I'm moving through this shit right now, you know it's coming for you. And then it does. He laughs and I laugh about it, but it does. It happens. And then it's incredible, because when I'm standing in his shoes, then when the roles reverse, I know I know what to do because I've already walked through that door, and I'm at that door with it open going, come this way, and he might not have been in this place of vulnerability before, but he knows that it's safe to go through. So actually what happens is, to kind of bring back into context the masculine feminine thing, for me, it's the balancing of the masculine and feminine within myself. And the masculine and feminine within him, and that he knows as, you know, the stereotypical man who's supposed to have their shit together and be strong, and no, he can fall to pieces and it's safe. And that, you know, I don't need to continuously rescue myself or whatever, that I actually can, you know, lean in on him too. So that's just my perspective of it.
Have you ever been able to bring the walls down, you know, for yourself, like be that, you know, be that genuine, be that vulnerable, naked, whatever? Have you ever been able to do that with anyone else?
No, God, no.
I've never been.
No,
Was it hard?
hardly.
Was it hard? Was it hard? This is to both of y'all. I mean, was it hard to? I think Robert actually was speaking to this earlier, like the difficulty in actually showing all of you, right? You know what I mean? Like, are there things that you've never said to anyone else that you've said to him, or vice versa? You know,
Everything.
right? You know what I mean?
We often, again, often's a relative term, isn't it? But on plenty of occasions we've talked, and I'll be like, I don't like secrets. I've never been good with unspoken. And hilariously, the more we fall into this, the more I realize there's so much unspoken going on in here, but I wasn't even aware of it. But when you grow up in trauma, you grow up incredibly sensitive to other people's emotional states. So much so that you can be more aware of them than your own. I'm sorry, I've allowed my thread to get lost there as I'm talking.
It's a 3D lifestyle now. Don't worry about it.
Well, you said it today. You said you adapted like a chameleon to environments so that you would feel and be safe around other people, but then you end up trying to be what they wanted you to be so that you fit inside their box. And then when you try to just be yourself unapologetically, you can't be. And then
the unspoken, yeah.
It's the unspoken, but like the madness, we just speak we try. Yeah. I'm not going to say we do it all the time, because we forget we're human, and we make, we forget all the time. But we try to literally say exactly what's on our minds, like the kids with autism are free to say exactly what's on your mind. How I deal with it is how I deal with what he says is on me, and vice versa. But we try to really leave nothing unspoken, and that includes, you can't have transparency and honesty.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's what I was trying to get to, in that there has to be absolute sincerity with what I'm saying. And often I'll turn around to Melissa and I'll say, I don't believe there's any major events in my life now. And I don't mean massive, somebody died or I changed country, but I mean something that has an emotional and mental trigger or fear attached to it that I would be ashamed, embarrassed, or not wanting Melissa to find out about.
And vice versa.
But there's been a few times where we've had a conversation and I'm like, I don't think there's anything else. And then I'll experience another degree of safety and then be like, oh, there's this. And it's not that I've been withholding a part of myself from
I think
Melissa.
It's that we've suppressed it. So we suppress things so much, but the important thing being that we recognize that we don't have to stay holding on to anything anymore. And then this bounces back to what you're talking about, communication. Yeah. I crave it. I personally crave it. I can't handle, as Rob calls unspoken, I can't handle internalizing anything anymore that's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's me hurting me. This isn't him hurting me, it's me hurting me. So communication is key, no matter what.
Yeah.
We just always try and have the hard conversations, even at the risk of
hurting the
what
other
if he
person.
doesn't love me if I tell him the truth about this? But what's the point in holding anything in?
It
What's
has
the
a
point?
resonance.
It
has a
impacts. It
resonance.
robs you of.
And the person that you're holding it from, you withhold it. But like I was saying before, I forgot my thread. When you grow up in a lot of emotional trauma, you're sensitive to the person, which means that if I have an experience and I'm holding shame for something that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago or an hour ago, and I'm feeling it, it's going to be resonating so hard that Melissa's going to know about it, even if I don't.
Yeah, I feel it.
And so much vice versa. And the invitation is then, if I'm having this thing that I'm not able to speak to, which is very unlikely that there's something I won't share, but in the unlikely event I'm not aware of something, Melissa will say, what's going on? What are you thinking? What's causing that feeling? And there's nowhere to hide. Again, Melissa will say that to me often.
Do you guys ever have like extended moments of silence or energetic and or physical separation for extended periods of time?
Just going to work count.
Yeah, and even at that, we'll be
I'm
talking
not
for
very
2 or 3 hours.
present at work lately. No, not really.
Silence, no.
Not really.
That kind of thing.
We've said this. It definitely would be a reprieve, or seen as possibly a reprieve from the depth of stuff that we experience. But we actually don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's not
No, I
because
get
we're
that.
addicted
I was just curious. It wasn't
yeah.
like,
One thing that we do, and Rob kind of initiates it as opposed to me. If I'm so much in my head I can't come out, he'll just say, just stop everything and just look at me. Just look at me. And I've got nowhere to go when that's looking back at you.
Yeah.
Is he naked when he does it?
No, that would be an opportunity for laughter.
On.
So we try and avoid that, Todd, but thank you.
He has his blue what?
He's got Crocs, Todd. Where are they?
No, they're not in the room.
Crocs. They're the most horrific thing I've ever come across in my life. Look, let me show you Crocs. They should be illegal. Crocs and underpants.
Crocs and under. So he stands naked in his Crocs?
I never said that.
No.
I never said that at all.
No, we try to avoid that.
I just said I was making a joke though. I said
I didn't hear your bit. I was just consumed with the image of the Crocs full stop. I'm like, if this
full
man
staff. What do you mean?
I said, if this man can literally walk around in my space wearing Crocs and I love the shit out of him, this has to be the real deal.
Oh, because you hate Crocs.
Passionately, Todd.
That's very unfair.
It's like if there was a top 3 things that Melissa absolutely doesn't do well with, Crocs would be the second top of the list.
And so, for that reason, Morgan gave me the idea. I went and I ordered little things I can put on his Crocs. A little Marvel superheroes. I'm going to decorate the Crocs. He thinks I'm joking.
Yeah.
I don't want him messing. I love you, Rob. I love your Crocs.
Joking, and then we do a lot of laughing. But joking aside on that one, there are moments when the other person is spinning and there's too much going on, and you just invite them to stop and just look at me, look into my eyes, and remember, it's not that I'm doing anything special. It's just that the invitation is to remember the love that you are. And in that moment when love is looking back at you, you have 2 choices. You can stay in the overwhelming, the shit, or you can look at the love that you are reflected back at you and remember that you are that love.
Stand in your Crocs in confidence.
Todd, it's like a 4-year-old in a Batman t-shirt. That is me with my Crocs.
Wait, I have a Batman t-shirt. I mean,
you're making my point beautifully. Thank you.
Next time I see Morgan, that's my new outfit.
Crocs and a Batman t-shirt.
No, I'm going to have a Batman cape with a mask.
Yeah. I'm so scared. Yeah. That's it.
Very cool. Very cool.
We're working hard, but we're blessed.
Well, I mean, the energy speaks for itself. Melissa's radiant.
She really is.
What?
You really are. But we're just, Todd. See, when you look in a mirror of another, and they're looking back at you with even more love for you than you hold for yourself in that moment, there is nowhere to go. We've played long enough in shame, in guilt, in fear, in lack. We've projected that on those that we love because we can't hold ourselves or our trauma, or the fear that if we allow this person to see us truly in our vulnerability, they'll drop us. And the pain of that, the remembered pain of that, going all the way back to when you were a child, is too great. So you bleed all over the person, you let them experience your wounding, their wounding then triggers you, and you just step right into a beautiful mess of trauma. Or you don't. And you look at love reflected back at you and you say, I remember that I am love.
Yeah. What is the best moment or memory that each one of you has had since you've met?
I wouldn't know how to narrow it down. Give me a moment.
Or just take one of the best. Like, if you can't think of the moment, just like what is one of the things that for each one of you that really stands out?
I'll give you my most recent, and that was last Tuesday when we got married. And I'm standing there and I'm doing the word stuff, the vow stuff. I don't even remember. I just remember thinking that I think my heart's going to just completely explode out of my chest.
Wow.
With the amount of love I have for this man, to the point where I couldn't actually speak. And then my mum pipes up behind me, did you change your mind? True story. But
Did you change your mind?
Yeah, because I couldn't talk.
In the middle of
this is my mom. She's
in the
awesome.
middle of the ceremony, she says.
She's awesome. She's awesome. If she didn't come out with something, it would have been very boring.
Did you change your mind? What,
but
Robert?
She was
what did
behind
you do?
me.
What did Robert do?
It's funny because there was still a mask mandate at the time.
Yeah, we'd COVID masks on.
Which meant that we had the masks on.
You had the mask on at the ceremony.
Oh, yeah, you may
now.
They
only lifted the restrictions in Ireland today.
Were you allowed to kiss after the ceremony?
No. You may now hug the bride. Actually, not kidding. But the incredible thing is that Todd, it was perfect. Yeah. And I'll tell you for what. For multiple reasons. But the reason in this moment that Melissa's describing, because there's only one place you can look. You can't look, at the chin, the mouth, the nose. All of your focus is on the other person's eyes. And it would have been there anyway, but they were super emphasized.
Robert, did you get any reaction at all? Were you just like... Oh.
I grinned because
he could see me. My mom couldn't see what was going on. She was behind me. So when I was speechless, and literally I can't explain it. Like I genuinely thought I'm just gonna combust. I love this person so much. How is this even possible? The words wouldn't come out of my mouth. He's looking at me. He's looking straight into my eyes because it's the only place you can look. He could see. He knew what was going on.
Yeah, there was no fear. There was no, oh my God, maybe it's too soon or she's changed her mind. There, you can't have that fear.
In the Irish, I'm sure in the thick Irish accent. Did you lose your mind?
It was pretty impressive, but it was perfect. Yeah. And it invited me to just hold her hand and look right back at her eyes.
It was class. That was my favorite moment.
And just be present.
What was your favorite moment, Robert? One of your favorite moments? Rob. I'm sorry, Rob.
Hey, no, it's so good, Todd. Do I think, Todd, the second day Melissa and I spoke, I'd recognized on the first, after we spoke for an hour the first day, I recognized that I was really angry and I couldn't fully explain or understand it.
Wait, the second night?
So we spoke the first day. I think we spoke on the phone for about an hour.
Yeah.
And that evening I went home.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about Melissa, and I was looking at a video that she'd done or a Facebook picture, I think. And as I'm sat feeling into her energy, I recognized that I was getting angrier and angrier.
Right.
But I knew that it was absolutely everything to do with my own past and my trauma. And the fact that looking at Melissa, I knew like a key fits in a lock. I knew her energy, and that there would be no hiding from this woman. And the next day we're speaking.
It doesn't sound great when you're leading with, I was so angry.
It doesn't, but it was, this is what made me know with no doubt that we start speaking, and within moments I'm saying to Melissa, you know, I felt all conflicted and confused last night. And it was so funny. She said, well, you should lean into it and tell me what you were feeling. And I was like, oh, but you know, it's not yours, it's displaced. And she just invited me to speak, you know, and I said to her, I resent the fact that you're Irish. I resent the fact that you're Catholic. And it was so funny because it was an absolute invitation.
Well, what are
for
you?
Melissa to
Are you?
be shocked.
Are you not Catholic?
I'm Scottish, and I was raised with neither denomination.
Oh, okay,
but what I was resenting was the fact that I knew that I was going to be invited to experience all of me through this woman's eyes. And when I said something as ridiculous as the second time we spoke, as I resent you for this, and I knew that I didn't, she didn't run away. In fact, she laughed at me and she was like, oh, well, you should probably talk about that. And
this is on your second phone call.
Yeah, like at the
and
start
this is his favorite memory, or one of his favorite.
No, I love it because it was an invitation to be utterly honest in the face of something ridiculous with someone that didn't know me.
Oh, you gotta love that.
And yet she knew my energy well enough, and I knew hers, that it was safe for me with someone who I felt an immediate attraction to when we were speaking, emotionally, energetically, to absolutely be honest immediately from day one. I have a totally unreasonable resentment towards you. It's fuck all to do with you. Or well, you should speak it to me and just give it to me anyway. And then when I give her the incredible ridiculousness that it is.
Give it to me, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, it might not be a pretty
that,
memory, but I'll tell you, it showed me the power of the woman.
Well, pretty much speaks to your whole relationship. I mean, it speaks to a boldness, you know, like let's just rip the Band-Aid off now.
She's beautiful. And I tell you, Todd, I'm saying she, it's so rude, Melissa, absolutely, she mirrors back at me all of the love that I am.
Yeah.
And all of the confusion and the hurt. It falls away when someone loves themselves that much that they'll stand in front of you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
After that, Todd, I don't know.
Eileen Kinsella, thank you for the comment, everybody else. She said, yes, she is beautiful. I was going to say, you know, there's another reason that women can look the way Melissa's is looking now. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I've got an idea where you're going with
Todd,
that.
I really wanted to keep that lotto win to myself, but now that you're telling everybody.
Yeah.
No, I was actually talking about the physical materialization of the third and the golden child energy.
The energy for sure. The energy for sure. Yeah. The energy may be.
You never know. You never know. We are living.
No, we know. We're having way too much time to complicate that shit with babies.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is the energy. The Trinity energy is the energy of the Immaculate Conception. So.
Yeah, we leave that to the Bible.
Yeah. You know, we can hold energy for sure, but physical babies, I think
won't be happening.
But, you know,
hard no.
Both.
Just wondered.
Thanks, though.
Just wondered.
Both long enough, I think.
No.
Well, you guys, I mean, your energy speaks for itself, and what you know.
3 teenagers taught is the best contraceptive on the planet. I'm just gonna drop the mic there.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Now that you brought it up, I wasn't going to go there. But like, do you have to like soundproof the room? I mean, I'm just wondering. Like, you have to put like, you know, cover all the.
Todd, abstinence.
Yeah, abstinence. Don't even know what you're talking about, Todd.
Ah, I see.
It's the safest and easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's maybe an accidental creation. That's what I'm talking about.
No.
Immaculate.
No.
immaculate conception and accidental creation are polarities that need to be zero pointed.
No.
So if you don't do that, you may physically manifest the imbalanced frequency of those two polarities. So either way, you're going to have, one in the
We're
oven.
No. I burn shit, Todd. No.
Well, it's good seeing y'all. It really is. You're beautiful. I mean, what can I say? It is what it is. And a good way to start the Monday.
A gift to share with you guys, actually.
As ever.
Been lovely. Yeah.
Thanks very much for your beautiful time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, thank you.
Only you could make us come out hiding. And now we're going back in again. People see us again in 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Take as long as you need to.
Indeed.
See you guys again in 2022,
you,
or maybe privately.
maybe
privately we can have a conversation. The four of us.
Sure. All right. Well, much love to you, Todd.
Yeah, I love you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing, because you're doing it for a lot more than just yourselves. It takes a lot of work and a lot of guts and a lot of love, right?
Thank you.